Hello, hello, welcome back.
¿Cómo estás, bitches?
Muy bien, thank you.
How you doing, Soph?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing good. You're
Doing
in a
good.
tank top. Didn't you guys get a snowstorm?
Yeah, but it's pretty warm inside.
Yeah,
Cold on the outside, warm on the inside.
we had
Uh,
crazy snow last night.
yeah,
Yeah, like way too much. And now it's all raining, so it's like this incredible sludge everywhere. It's wild. It's a wild world out there.
yeah. We got quite a bit of snow, but it's all melted now. You
Is
know,
it?
you know how Portland, Oregon is. It's,
Yeah,
we don't really get snow so much as like sleet and ice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a ton of snow. We got back to back snow, but now it's raining, which is making it crazy. Oh, my cat is like asking to be picked up.
Oh,
He like puts
oh,
his arms up and
look
asks
at
to be
that
held. It's so
kitty.
funny. When he's so pretty.
Oh, look at that cat. What a
I
fat,
love it.
fluffy little cat.
He's so fluffy and fat. He's so
Oh,
cute.
he's adorable.
Literally the love of my life right now. But anyways,
Oh,
yeah.
I love cats. I love cats and dogs. I hate when
You
people
know
are
how
like,
much I
I hate when
go
people
ahead.
are like, "Are you a cat or dog person?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm an animal person, homie."
Right. Yeah. Yes. I'm anything that's not a human. Do you remember how
Yeah.
obsessed I was with cats growing up?
Yeah, I remember we had like rabid we had feral cats like everywhere.
We had like well we it started with Sally when I was in kindergarten, and then she had babies, and eventually what was happening was the mom cats were mating with their sons. And that's how by the by the end of it we had actually disabled kids.
No,
This is
no.
why you don't let poor people have pets. We couldn't spay or neuter them. So
We had incest kitties. Oh
yeah, by the end they were
no.
like out of their minds. I mean, we had to put a whole litter down. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I didn't. I never put two and two together and realized why they were so stupid.
Yeah, by the end they were like I remember the last kitten I had, it would like
Oh
be walking
no.
and then all of a sudden it would like startle and just run into the wall head first. Like
Oh no.
we had
Oh, we we
we had
bred
mutant kitties.
we bred mutant kitties. Oh
Oh,
no.
sweet home Alabama in the middle of the gay household. It
Oh,
was it
this
was
is
bad.
my brother, husband, son.
Granddaddy and uncle. Oh, but I love them so
Uh,
much. But it was a nuisance. And Dad hated cats, still hates cats. So
I love
I don't.
cats. Remember when we had that poor little dog for a little bit. Oh,
Kavi,
Cobby.
we had him for like 3 weeks. I just remember I loved him so much. And then we came home from school one day and he was just gone. And I was heartbroken.
Dad hated that
Wow.
dog. Dad hated that puppy.
I think he still feels so bad about getting rid of it or even getting it in the first place. Because we were so excited to have a dog.
I know. He was such a cute. Oh,
A little German Shepherd puppy.
that's triggering me. It's bringing back like
I
bad memories. You,
know.
yeah. Oh,
That was a nice moment of silence for Coffee.
oh, poor little puppy. I loved him. Gosh.
I know there's so much I almost started remembering some of the things, but I don't want
Yeah, I don't want to go there right
to.
now,
I can
man.
tell we both are like, oh,
Oh,
let's
that
not talk
brings
about Coffee.
some trauma.
Mm.
What's the difference between Iron Man and Iron Woman? One's a superhero, one's a command.
Fuck off! Oh my god! Well, no, yeah, the superhero is Iron Woman. The command is Iron Man. Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh.
She laughs in feminism.
Yeah, last in feminism. That was good.
That's a good one. Oh my
Dude,
god.
I haven't ironed like I there was a moment in time a few years ago where I was like, I want to be one of those people who irons everything. Like
Yeah.
who everything like so I bought a really nice ironing board, a really nice iron.
Uh-huh.
That shit has never left my basement.
Yeah.
I
That's what immigrants are for.
what?
You don't have a
Oh,
housekeeper? You don't have a housekeeper?
I'm I'm not that rich. No,
I'm joking.
that's what a simp is for, and I don't know them yet.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta get yourself a simp, bro. Somebody's gonna
Dude,
simp
someone
you.
was just telling me. I was reading an article, and it led me to a video about a woman who literally hires men who have a kink for this, for simping.
Yeah.
They they clean her whole fucking house. She never
Yeah.
has to have sex with them. All they want is for her to degrade them and tell them like, clean my toilet on your hands and knees. And it
It
like
gets them
where
off. Yeah.
where I will do this. Like no problem. Who am I to deny some man sexual expression by cleaning my
Well,
house?
yeah. Dang, man.
Yep. So, if there are any New England freaks out there,
Yeah,
um,
you want to be told to clean.
I
And
fucking hate men, and I would love you to get on your hands and knees and scrub my toilet.
with your
No, my
tongue.
cat. No, no, no.
Oh,
With
I thought it was a sexual
with well, I think it is, but you're not gonna lick my toilet. But I'll
thing.
gladly scream at you and tell you you're a worthless piece of shit and make you clean my floors twice. I mean, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Some guys are into that, man. Some guys are into that.
it's
Dude,
wild.
I find some wild videos like on TikTok and Instagram, man. These it's kind of random. But there's like these women who do these like TikTok vids where they just like talk down to guys, you know? I just watch it and they're like, "Are you a good boy? Are you no?" And then they like spit in the camera.
I've never come across those videos, David, because my algorithm, for some reason,
I may have
doesn't ever
searched.
show me.
One time I may have. I don't know. I don't know. I go down some weird rabbit holes. But
If anyone's listening, David wants to be called a bitch.
no, it's so funny, man. I watch those videos. I'm just like, oh my god, somewhere some guy's getting off to this right now.
Dude, and you could, like, if I wasn't, if I was a different person in another life, I
You would
would
do
be
that.
so fucking rich. There are men who will pay a woman, pay pigs, to like they want to FaceTime you. Literally, they want you to ignore them the entire time and like look at your phone and be like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And keep going. Like, how do I like how do I lower my own moral compass so that I
Yeah.
can do this and not feel icky about it? Like,
Oh man.
it's all about my sexual freedom, man. I mean,
isn't that like such a huge difference between men and women? Like men will pay for a woman to like assault them, you know?
yeah, because
With
they know it's a game.
I know. It just really shows a bit. Women though, it's like I mean, some women do like being degraded, but even that they want it with someone that they know is
They,
a dude will show up to a woman like a woman's house, never having met her, not knowing a thing about her. All they know is that she's gonna degrade them, and like
they're
and to them they're like this is gonna be the greatest day of my life. A woman would never do that. She'd be real. You'd have to get to know a guy before you're just gonna.
yeah. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine reversing that. Like going to a man's house that I've never met and being like,
Yeah.
"I'm here to be degraded. I'm going to be cut up and put into a freezer." He wouldn't have me clean his toilet.
No,
Dude,
no,
the
no.
violence would be fatal. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah. For guys, it's just I mean, they will pay for that experience. It really shows
which is interesting. Yeah.
power different dynamic there.
And maybe just how exhausting it is to always feel like you have that much authority. I mean, like, I wonder what it is about them. I listened to a podcast, Esther Perel. brilliant therapist, but she did one on this. No. I listened to a podcast called "You Will You Will Obey Me." She's a dominatrix.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm so fascinated by this woman because
Yeah.
she is so beautiful and like sensual, but she's a dominatrix. And
Hmm.
she was talking about how a lot of men who come to her and want to be just completely dominated and degraded, it's because in their actual life, most of them have like they're like CEOs and presidents
Yeah,
of
yeah. It's
and
true. I've heard that
they're like
too.
worn out from it. Like, oh,
Yeah. They
the
just want to
pressure
be
of being in so
they
much control.
they want to be bossed around by someone else. Yeah. Yeah.
They want to feel like a
Like
1950s housewife.
yeah. Oh, that's a secret kink? Okay.
You want to cosplay a woman?
Put you in a dress and call you pretty.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't want to hear a word out of your mouth. You're lucky. I should
Oh,
start my own
Sophie.
company.
Sophie. You could,
Trad wife, trad wife cosplay for men. You get to be a trad wife.
Dude, you could probably make millions off that idea, Sophie.
I want to. Can you imagine? Like, come be my trad wife. Make me sourdough bread from scratch. Clean my house.
Put some guy in some rich guy who just wants to be just put on heels and a dress and a wig and just be the pretty housewife for a day. Like just yell. You just get
Yeah, I'm
the
gonna
you get to kick back with a bottle of wine and just hurl insults at them all day.
literally like I want to come home from work. I want to come home from work, throw my bags down, put my feet up on the table, watch some TV, and tell this bitch to get my dinner ready.
Yes.
And then he has to be like, "We never do anything fun," so I can be like, "I work all day. What do you want?"
Dude, you can make millions. And on the East Coast, there's so many like friggin' Wall Street bros, and like you got all these like these high powered, guys. I swear to God, you have no idea. I bet there's a bunch of millionaires out there who would buy into that fantasy just for a day.
They need an outlet. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to provide that, so I'll look into that. Just kidding, mom.
Yeah, right. In 2 years, we're gonna
Not
find
kidding. I'm very.
out. 2 years, we're gonna find out. Sophie's walking around buying Cadillac Escalades and shit. We're like, oh, where'd she get all this money?
She runs a brothel or something. That is not what you think. Dude, I can't think of anything more empowering. If I was a pimp for little, like, rich men who want to simp for women, oh my god. No, okay. I think my kids would watch this.
Don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. All right.
But we
Um,
might be getting that new house for you. Don't you worry.
your mom's your mom's gonna lower her standards a little bit, but it's all for the.
Or am I raising them? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I don't
I'm
know. You might be raising them.
contributing to society.
Okay.
Wow. Wow, what a start to this episode.
So today we were going to talk about media, entertainment, TV, and like actual movies and shit. What are some of
Mhm.
your favorite movies?
You know what's funny? My all-time favorite movie is such an obscure one, but it's called Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. And it's the first movie I saw when so we didn't have a TV growing up, but my best friend Jamie Duble at the time, they had a TV. So, we all knew they were like one of the lukewarm Christians because they had a
Yeah,
television in their house.
yeah, yeah.
But I loved going to her house on Sundays in between services because we'd get to watch a movie. And her parents only had like old westerns and stuff, but Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken is one of them. And like to this day, it is one of the only movies that I've watched more than a couple times. Like I've seen that movie probably hundreds of times. Love it. But aside from that, I don't watch a lot of movies or TV.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just I mean, recently. I mean, I used to a lot in my 20s and stuff, but um, I really have you seen? No, because I don't think it's out yet. We Live in Time with
It's streaming on HBO, which I don't have right now.
is
But
it?
I haven't seen it though. Andrew
Whoa,
Garfield,
that movie is intense. And Florence Pugh, I
Florence
love
Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really intense. But I also saw It Ends with Us, and then um, the Bob Dylan.
Biopic.
Uh, it's shockingly good. I don't like Dylan. Like, I don't find his music very good, and I didn't think Timothy Chalamet could do a very good job because I don't know much about him. He's just like, heartthrob. Um, he killed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was so immersed in his acting, I stopped seeing Timothy Chalamet and saw Bob Dylan. Like, I mean, it's a really good movie. Yeah, I haven't been. I don't know. What have you been watching? I know you. I think you watch more movies than I do.
I watch a lot. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely a media fiend. Right. I mean, honestly, my favorite show in the world right now is The White Lotus on HBO.
I've seen it.
Um,
I need to watch it.
Dude,
What
it
is the
is
premise of it?
the premise is so every season is different, even though they have a few recurring characters. But the premise is essentially rich people on
Hmm.
vacation, rich people on vacation at a swanky resort where mystery, there's murder, there's debauchery, there's um, what's it called when someone cheats?
Adultery?
Adultery. There's adultery. I don't know why I forgot that word for a second.
You let me
Um,
remind you.
um,
Is it
but
real
you,
people or is it a show? Is it reality
it,
TV?
it, no, no, no. It's a show. It's a fictional show. I think what makes it so enthralling is just the depth of characters. Like the characters are really deep, and their interactions are so just. It's just a remarkable show. I love watching, and there's a lot of commentary, social commentary,
Oh,
that you
interesting.
get out of it. I mean, the first show takes place in Hawaii, and
Oh,
it starts off with a casket being rolled onto a plane. So already somebody has died.
mm.
And this white dude's really angry, and you don't know why. And then it goes to the beginning, and so it goes. You're essentially trying to figure out what happened. Like at the very beginning, there's that hook, right? Who died? And so throughout the show, that's always at the back of your mind. So that's a good hook right there. Like who
Is it
died?
kind of like
What's the
is it kind of like a bougie clue? Like a who
Yeah,
done it?
I mean, it's got the who done it, but again, it's also got just intriguing character dynamics and just really like deep social commentary. So like the Hawaii one of the storylines is this resort is built on land that was stolen from Hawaiians, and
Hmm.
there's this Hawaiian guy that works at the resort, and he's a good dude and he's got a good life, but one of the rich girls, well, this rich family that's staying there, there's these two girls, their daughter and their daughter's friend, and their daughter's friend's like a half black. I think she's half black. And woman, young lady, and their daughter is Sydney Sweeney. If you know who Sydney Sweeney is, the
Hmm.
gorgeous blonde, voluptuous. Everybody knows who she is. Um, but Sydney Sweeney, she comes from material wealth, and so her family's
Hmm.
wealthy as hell, and so this half black girl though she connects with this Hawaiian dude, and I don't it doesn't really say, but I don't think she really comes from money. She's just Sydney Sweeney's friend, and
Hmm.
she starts you start to see the interaction between these two colored people. I don't know why I said it like that, colored people. What's the word? I sound like I'm from the 1950s. You see
Yeah,
this
no, they're both
you see this interaction between these two, characters, these mixed
people of color.
people of color, and her heart, her empathy. She wants to help this guy whose land has been stolen. So she actually encourages him to break into the room that she's staying in, and they have a safe, and the mom has like a pair of bracelets that are each worth like $50,000. And
Whoa.
she's like, steal them. She's like, they don't fucking need it. Like, they don't even care about it. And so that, like, and then some really bad things happened. And so the native guy gets fucked twice. But like, stuff like, so, it's got social commentary, and then it's just such a good show.
Oh, I'm
I,
gonna have to watch it.
it's intrigue, and the second season was so well, and it's also got the actress, Stifler's mom from American Pie, or not, is it Stifler's
Oh,
mom?
Jennifer.
Jennifer,
Gosh, yeah. The Oh wow. Oh my god, I love
yeah.
her.
She's such a great actress,
I
man.
love her.
And
Yes.
Jennifer Coolidge? No, no, not
Yes.
Coolidge.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
Coolidge?
Yeah.
Um, but she kills it in the show, man. She's just this obscenely
Mm,
wealthy white woman who's just like clueless to like the life that she has, you know, and
yeah.
her just character, the evolution of her character is so intriguing, and just
Oh,
seeing
I want to watch it.
how much chaos wealthy people create around them without even realizing it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like how much jealousy they create in others, how much like hurt they you know, like they hurt a lot of, you know, there's like effects to these people's wealth that
Yeah.
goes, and they don't, and these wealthy people don't even understand what they're doing, you know, like to them it's just like
Oh,
you know, and
yeah.
it's really
Oh, I have to
cool,
watch
man.
it.
Oh, it's such a, and the third season's coming out this year, so I'm really excited. It's going to take place in Thailand. So the first season took place in Hawaii, the second season took place in Italy, and the third
Wow.
season will take place in Thailand. So,
Oh, and do they? Is it beautiful then? The like
oh, the
theater.
yeah, the cinematography is gorgeous, and the audio, the sound design is
Hmm.
amazing. I mean,
Ooh.
they use sound to create an even like a greater dramatic effect.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm in love with that show, and it is absolutely my favorite show right now. Like out of everything, if I had to think about my
Dang.
favorite shows ever, I mean,
Hmm.
Game of Thrones would be one. I love Game of Thrones. I think you know the whole world did for a minute there. Um, but Game of
I've never
Thrones.
seen one episode.
Oh God, Game of Thrones is such a insanely good show. And you know they did kind of botch the last couple of seasons, but nonetheless,
Hmm.
it holds up, man. It's worth watching. It like my top three shows that like are what I would call like oh what's that word? You know, high culture, like high
Like
culture, like highbrow.
like more
Uh,
refined.
yeah, like you know the like the ones that go for the Emmys.
Yeah.
Would be Game of Thrones, The White Lotus, and Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was so good. Oh my god, dude! Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
I started watching some of it. I am. It's interesting. I have a hard time getting into it.
Yeah,
But I think it's because I need to like watch it consistently to get into the
yeah,
storyline because I've only seen it for the first like 3 episodes or 3 or 4, and so it's still like he hasn't even really started dealing drugs yet, and so it's
yeah,
like moving really slow getting to the point, and I have a hard time with that. But
yeah,
everyone loves it, so I I want to, but
yeah.
um,
It's beautiful. My three like guilty pleasure shows would be like Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things.
yeah.
Um, I can't think of anything else right now, but yeah, yeah. So, do you have any TV shows that would stand out in your head?
Yeah, I mean, Black Mirror is one of my all-time favorites. And I hate how long they take in between seasons, but I also kind of love it because by the time it comes around, I love how they are mimicking what's going on in the world. You
Yeah.
know, you've seen it, right?
I mean,
Have you
oh
seen it?
yeah. I mean, it's kind of terrifying at this point because it's like too true. It's like it's
Well,
like
it's like art imitating life is the most terrifying way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm obsessed. I love shows like that. I have a really hard time with fantasy. I always have. I think
yeah,
I'm not sure what it is. Like because I find myself to be very imaginative and like dreamy, but when it comes to I mean like even like Marvel, anything, like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, all of that stuff. I've never been able to get into it because I think for me, I love feeling like something is believable. Like that's the fun in watching it for me. So like my TV shows Black Mirror, but I also like I really love The Diplomat with uh Carrie.
oh,
Oh my gosh, what is her name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
the diplomat, Carrie. Yeah, she's a brunette.
Yeah, she was in The
Yeah,
Americans with
The
yeah,
Americans. Yeah, I heard The Americans. By the way, was an amazing show, which I've never seen. But
incredible,
yeah. Oh, so
incredible.
you
It's
do
a
like it?
vampire thing.
Oh,
I
all right. So
love
there's a show.
like
All right.
yeah, political and like uh you know, like police, spy, all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I've probably seen the show if it exists. Like the guy who does Breaking Bad, the main guy, he
Yeah.
is doing a show about a corrupt judge. I love that. I don't know. I can't remember the name. I love that show.
Okay.
Um, I think it's called Your Honor, but it's just it just came out in 24. Love it. But I love The Diplomat. I love Black Mirror. There was one that just came out on Amazon last year, and it's based off of a video game,
Oh,
and it's like
Fallout. Fallout.
loved Fallout. I didn't expect to like Fallout.
Fallout. Isn't it
I
so good, dude? That's one
loved
of.
it.
Oh, I love Fallout. That's where
Yeah,
I oh, I'm gonna say something gross. I was gonna make a joke. That's where I figured out you can fuck your cousins. You know, that's apparently. I didn't know that was an option. You know.
it's not. You literally. Oh my god.
No, I'm just saying that it's funny because in the show they make it so casual. You know, there's she's like
Yeah.
I know you love me, and you know, but like, have, you know, being a lover to your cousin isn't like a long term. Do you remember
Dylan
how
was like,
I was like,
nothing.
I was like, how it was just so casual how they introduced that incestuous little tidbit.
You know what's funny is I can't even remember that part, but I love that show. And I know, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sure I'd like it more if I'd played the video game, but I mean, even without any of that
even
context, I
without
really
knowing.
loved it.
Oh, if you liked that show, you might like The Last of Us on HBO. It's based off a video game about zombies. It's got some amazing actors. It's got Pablo Pascal,
Mm,
Pedro Pascal. Um,
Pedro, yeah.
it's such a good show.
I dated someone who played that video game all the time, and I
Oh,
loved every minute of it because it's so
um,
pretty. It's like a beautiful video
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. So they made a show off that as well. That show is really good too. Um, but yeah, Fallout was astonishing, man. I really got into that. And I love that actor who plays the main character with the fucked up face. God, what's his name?
Yeah, Steven.
Uh, oh my God, I wish we're both forgetting a lot of names here.
You know.
He's such an amazing actor, though. I
Mhm.
love that actor. He's been in. He can also do really good comedy. He does comedy roles,
Oh,
comedic roles.
really?
Yeah, he's funny as hell. He's in
Oh, I
this.
didn't imagine that.
He's in this kind of like underrated show on HBO called Vice Principals, and he plays a principal along with the guy who played Kenny Powers. Uh, they're just both so obscene. It's about them like fighting over being a vice principal of like a high school, and it gets dark, but it's funny as hell. It's underrated. A lot of people don't. I've never heard anyone talk to me about it. I'm the only one that I know that knows about it. It's really good though. What about movies? What are some of your favorite movies? I
Well,
already asked you.
yeah, but as I was thinking about it, I love Far from the Madding Crowd. Um, I mean Pride and Prejudice, but also, I mean, I have like guilty pleasure shows like Grey's Anatomy. I have watched there's like 27 seasons. I've seen all of them. I'm obsessed with Grey's Anatomy. Also Love is Blind,
This is
the
me.
trashiest.
This is me silently judging you for watching Grey's Anatomy.
I love Grey's Anatomy. Megan Kelly should love it for
I've
life.
never understood the appeal of that show, and I have like a lot of people I know who are just absolutely love that show,
Well,
and
I started
I
watching
just
it when it first started,
uh huh.
and
How
I
old are
could
you again?
probably perform a surgery. I could probably do an entire like liver transplant at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
My favorite season is still the ones that had Christina Yang or Sandra Oh. She was like my favorite character. But that's yeah, and then Love is Blind, which is the dumbest show. But if anything, it proves that love is not blind, which is why I
Is that
just
the reality show?
with Nick and Vanessa Lachey.
Oh my God! See, I can't. I've never been able to get into reality TV, man.
Me neither. Like The Bachelor and
Yeah,
all that, I can't.
yeah.
But Love is Blind. Oh my god, I've seen every episode, every season because it's
What's
so bad.
what's the premise?
So they get a group of men and women who like are done with dating in the real world and being, I mean, they are all conventionally attractive. I think it would be really interesting to put people in there who aren't, but I think that would probably be considered bullying. And they don't because they don't see each other, so they have pods.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all the men have one side, the women have the other. They get into the pods and they begin talking to this person on the other side of the wall, but you can't see each other, so you get to know each other through a wall. And then once you make a connection, so you like are dating 12 people at the same time and you're trying to weed out the ones that you connect with. Once you have a connection, he will propose. And so you can't see the person until you propose to them. and
Oh my! Oh, that
and
would be
so
fucked up if they had unattractive.
I wish they would, but they like they're always conventionally attractive, but it is interesting. So then you propose, and if she says yes, then they do a reveal. And so they do this moment. There's this big long hallway, and they open the doors slide up on either end, and so they have to see each other across like 50 yards. And so they have
Yeah.
to like run together. But I mean, there are some where when they see each other, you can tell one of them is like, oh,
Oh.
not
Oh.
attracted. Um,
Oh. Oh. You're Asian.
you could see it.
Uh,
There's a few of them where you're like, you could tell that he's like, oh, you're black,
oh
uh,
no. Oh my God,
or
that's fucked
she.
up.
But I mean, there are some too where you could tell the dude is just, not as
Yeah.
attractive as her, and you can tell that she's like, oh shit. And I mean, it's just such a train wreck of a show, and it
Yeah.
ends with so then after they see each other, and all the different people are engaged or they don't get engaged and they leave. Whoever's left that's engaged, they go to this like island that they rent and they get to live with this person for a few weeks to like actually get to know this person. And they're all having sex and all that stuff. And then you have to move to the real world and like meet the families and stuff. And the end, ideally, it ends in a wedding. But at the wedding, so the ceremony, both families are there. This is the moment of truth where they let the audience know if love is truly blind or not. And so they are giving their vows and they have to both say I do for it to be a success, right? Well, you don't know if they're going to say I do until the vows. And so most of
Oh
them say I don't.
my. Oh my.
It's so juicy and like
Uh,
terrible.
oh my
I
God.
love I love it. I love it because it's
Oh
like who the fuck thinks that how you interact physically doesn't matter? That's such a
yeah.
silly premise, and
Yeah.
it to pretend like it's superficial is so funny to me. Um, but it's so funny because you can like tell the people who are yeah, it's trash, but it's so good.
Yeesh. Trashy TV, man. I mean, you gotta have your guilty pleasures. You gotta have them. I've
It's
just
like one
never.
of those things that you can just put on and let it go, and you don't have to like
Yeah.
watch really. It's like background
I've
noise.
I've never considered myself, so low as to go to reality TV.
Says the
Yeah.
guy who
I mean, I'll rob a bank, but I won't. I'm not gonna stoop that low.
I want to say something so rude.
Oh, how dare you! Say it. Say it.
Says the guy who has admitted to a porn addiction, but reality TV, that's the low bar.
It is. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. Call me a hypocrite.
we, we can't all be as classy as you, Gabe.
No, no, no. I got a PhD in.
In what? That
I don't have one. Oh shit.
was so weird. I got a PhD.
I was gonna say media literacy, but
You kind of do though. You always have. It's been I love it. I find it really fascinating the way you take in media because I feel like it really. I mean, it's a form of like um, I mean, it's like almost a hobby for you. I feel like you take in
yeah,
media and
yeah.
and like
I like dissecting media. I like analyzing it. I like understanding like the themes and the characterization. And yeah,
yeah, you're able to get really immersed in it, and I love that.
yeah.
I've always been so like curious about why I can't because you would think that my personality would.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like it's my brain. Like everyone who watches movies with me gets really annoyed because I fall asleep every time. It's like as soon as my brain has a moment to like focus on one thing, I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's probably a
but
good. We all have our.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
we like what we like. You don't have to. Not a, it's good that not everyone's as enamored by media as I am. I
yeah, I wish I could get into more though, because some of it's really beautiful and informative, and just I don't know. But have I know we were talking about it? Did you watch It Ends with Us?
I did, and it triggered the fuck out of me.
Same.
Oh my God, dude, I was like depressed for like the evening.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I told him to watch it. Oh no.
It brought back such vivid memories of her growing up. I mean, we're talking about it. I don't know. Should we do spoiler free, or I feel like we should just talk about it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like everyone knows, and it's so in the media right now that if you don't know
Yeah,
the premise of It Ends With Us, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it.
uh,
Skip this episode, but we're going to talk about
yeah.
it.
So, I mean, first of all, here's my critique. First of all, I'll offer the negative feedback, which was that on some levels it's just a very basic, kind of cheesy,
Yeah,
love story. I mean, it's got all the basic components of the Notebook or something.
yeah, yeah,
On the other hand, there are some really intriguing elements to it. The domestic violence aspect, and like watching, when it comes to her background and the way her father treated her mom, and then she finds herself in that exact, and the way trauma is cyclical. I did love that, it ends with us. When you understand what that title means,
yeah,
when she's with her baby girl, and she's like, it ends with us, and like, we're not going to be victims anymore. And
yeah,
that was so, like, like I said, despite the cheese factor, I was actually, man, it really got to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was about domestic violence. This was one of my like massive critiques against it when it first came out is it was being advertised as sort of a fluff movie and I was excited to see it because it's all filmed in Back Bay, Boston, which I'm so
Yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with. And
Hmm.
so I was like really excited to see all the places I knew. I thought it was just about a girl who, goes through something and opens her own flower shop because that's how
Hmm.
Blake Lively was her press tour. That's how it was going. I had no idea it was about domestic violence. So I went into
Yeah.
this theater and I watched it by myself. And I would, same with you. Like at first I was like, this is cute. Like, I just wanted like a fluff love story to just
Yeah.
kind of enjoy my night. By the end of it, I was like crying in the
Yeah.
theater. And, because it's about domestic violence and in a really, they do an actually really good job of showing how sinister and, um, how sneaky domestic violence is, but also like how charismatic men can get away with a lot of things. And then also, yeah, that
And
violence
how
often begets violence. Like,
and
you
how
know,
they, I thought it was interesting how, he confused her, like he she was telling herself a story in her head, even though she knew the facts. All the times where he hit her, or shoved her down the stairs, and remember during the movie, like in her mind, she's making up a story where like it was an accident, and then
yeah.
then near the end, she's seeing it for what it is, and like he was absolutely doing it on purpose, and I thought that was interesting, how women especially will ignore those or even justify those very clear red flags,
Yeah, I think that's what killed me the most was to realize I know exactly how that happens.
Yeah.
And part of it is it's weird when someone tells you that they love you very much and that they didn't mean that you are misunderstanding what they did to you and then they frame it for you in a way that kind of makes sense. It's just a relief to be like, okay, maybe that's true. I'm going to just go with that. But the whole time, like something in your body is like very traumatized. I think that is what was so intense for me to like watch it and know, like, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be told that's not what happened. Here's what was happening. And for me to feel like, I don't think so, but like, okay, I don't want to believe that this person did that on purpose to me.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because there's someone who
and
says, I love you all the time.
and that you love back. And
Yeah,
in so many ways is such a good person. And
yeah.
everyone thinks they're a good person. And now you're in this life that revolves around this person being a good person. And so you're just like, it's like your brain splinters and you just think, I don't know what's going on. And then it's weird because your body, like in real life, you do start to have these really physical symptoms of like trauma because your body is like, no, you're being abused. And that moment where you start to replay it all and decide to take the blinders off. that is like one of the most traumatizing things. And to see her start having the memories come back correctly, like I just, oh, I remember feeling like physical pain inside my body and just like weeping. Because I remember that, starting
Yeah.
to go through my memories and being like, oh my God, like,
Is
don't
that
romanticize it.
is that was that yeah, I assumed that was very similar to how your ex was.
Very, like, things would happen and it would always be my fault. And I was like, right down to sexual assault, it was my fault.
I
And,
know. Oh, that
and that
scene.
was,
Oh, keep going, keep going.
yeah, where he bites her,
That
where
scene
he,
where he's forcing himself on her, and he
I
keeps
couldn't
saying,
even watch it.
That was the. I honestly, I kept thinking of your relationship with your ex, and I was like, Jesus, this is exactly what happened, isn't it? I was like, well, and the way she's like, I love you, like she's trying to like, let him know, like, what are you doing? Like, this, you're doing this to someone who loves you, and you don't have to prove your love, right? And the way he just kept forcing himself on her, and like, I just, that was hard, man. I was like, God damn, I think that's what Sophie went. And when I thought about it that way, I cringed, and then I started crying. I was like, God, that's so fucked up, man. I'm so sorry. I couldn't.
Yeah,
That,
it's interesting, Dave. I
yeah.
started rewatching it last night so that it would be fresh. And that scene, I had to stop. I couldn't watch it in the theater. I feel like I'm going to cry if I talk about it right now. But just like, that is exactly how I felt so often, was that same panic of like, okay, 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 okay. Like, it's fine. Just be quick. And the way that you, like, as a woman are laying there trying to like endure something, but also make it softer so it's not violent.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry,
just
Sophie.
like, it's just insane. That scene, I can't watch it. I couldn't watch it in the theater. I couldn't
Yeah,
watch it last night because
yeah,
it's that weird, because she's not hitting him, she's not begging him. It's
yeah.
so he, there's this argument that I was told, like, well, you never you never said the words, no, I don't want this. Like, you weren't explicit. You just said, you, I don't even know what I can talk about, but just, like, I would say things like, I don't want to do this, but if you need to, okay. Or I would say, or he would say, I'll just be really quick. And like,
Oh, so
because
sweet.
I wasn't like
So sad, man.
raging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but then he would
Like
say things like, well, you didn't
you didn't
say.
you didn't match his level of violence. Yeah.
Yeah, you let me, and you didn't say specifically, I want you to stop. Like, and then I remember thinking every time, you're right, like, I guess I didn't. And so
Oh
how
my
could you know?
God.
And I believed it so much. And so that's why now I'm so passionate about coercion is not consent, and coercion, actually legally, coercion is rape.
Yeah.
And so that's important, because that's what would happen. And it's not like it was coerced into some consensual way. Like, I don't even know if you'd call that coercion if she's just like, okay, okay, just hurry. That's not consent at all. That's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll lay here, just don't hurt me. And
Oh my God. I know. And
that
like
movie is, yeah,
her character wasn't, she never really said no. She was but she was, and it should be obvious. I guess that's what's so insane about it. Like, she's like, and her saying, and like I'm sure, like if you're a sociopath, you could be like, well, she was saying I love you, but she was like telling me she loved me, right? Because that's what she was. That's what
yeah.
the words coming out of her mouth. But like, like what the fuck? You'd have to be a sociopath to think that that's like consent. Like she was clearly like in distress and trying to help him understand that you wouldn't do this to a to someone you loved.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, so she wasn't being explicit, but she was. Like,
Oh, I mean, it's
why,
obvious.
like,
It's obvious, Sophie. You don't have. I
and
mean,
that's,
that's what I'm saying. You have to be a friggin' sociopath to just write that off as like, that's crazy.
yeah. And even like, I was remembering, and I remember talking to you about this on the phone at the end when I brought it up to him. Like, you did this to me over and over. And he said, do you think it was fun for me to have sex with someone who didn't want to have sex with me? And I
Oh
remember
my
him telling me
God.
that. And I
I wanna.
remember, yeah, I remember when he told me that, though. This is what is so like intense about domestic violence, is when he told me that, I immediately thought, wow, yeah, that would be pretty shitty. But like, hold on a second. Why would you still have sex with someone then? Like, the issue is not,
You have
I
no
remember
right. You have
feeling,
no right to feel bad. Fuck that
but,
guy,
and like, I
man.
can't, just that my reaction was like, oh, that must have been hard. Like, what the fuck? Like, yes, it would be awful to be married to someone who doesn't have a physical attraction to you. I can feel compassion for that. But the issue is you should have been like, okay, well, at some point you did. What broke along the way? How can we fix it? Not,
Yeah, fix the
well, this
relationship.
sucks.
Don't. I'm gonna just
Yeah,
make it.
that's
I'm
more,
gonna make it happen regardless.
yeah, I would prefer it if you liked it, but I don't need it. Like, that's ultimately what was told to me.
And of course,
And the fact,
that's. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you. Keep going.
no, just that my reaction was to feel bad for it. Like, that makes me want to, sometimes it makes me want to just cry and scream, like, why did I feel bad? Like, you didn't deserve, my reaction to his statement was, yeah, that would, like, no, I should have lit that motherfucker on fire. Like, I should not have, I hate that I betrayed myself by feeling bad for him, but it's because I am not an abusive person. I'm not a narcissistic person. And so my natural reaction was like, yeah, I could see why that would be really painful to not be desired by your spouse, but you raped me. That is not the appropriate response to rejection. Like, it is really fair to be hurt by your wife not wanting intimacy with you. What's not okay is to say, well, then that's fine. I'm going to still take it because I need it because I'm a man. And that's what I need to treat my kids well and treat people in church well. Because if I didn't, then our kids would get hurt. People in church would get like talked to like horrible, or he'd hurt himself. And so I would be responsible for other people getting harmed if I didn't do this thing. That is like, I can't even wrap my head around, like, when people ask how I stayed so long, like, that's the kind of thing that was happening to me. My logic was being bypassed constantly by gaslighting and abuse to where I couldn't think clearly ever. That is such a mind fuck. Like, I had no clarity. I didn't know why I felt crazy. I didn't know why I felt sick all the time. I didn't know why I hated my husband. I literally couldn't figure out why because he would convince me that it was me and our family's, like past history of mental illness. And it's just, I could not ever have an, I never had moments of clarity where I felt like, no, I'm seeing this clearly. It took me doing something pretty intense to shake myself out of that.
I'm so,
Yeah.
Sophie. I'm so sorry, Sophie. That makes me sick. That is just.
I'm like flushed right now.
I know.
It's like I'm just
God.
proud of myself for not crying, but I mean, I want to do my whole, the International Women's Day. I want to really talk about it because we had someone reach out and ask, like, how do you even start the process of getting away?
Yeah.
Because so many women in these situations don't have any financial security, and it's a terrifying thing. So I do want to talk about all of that, but that is a big part of my story right there. That aspect of it has explained so much of why I stayed for 17 years,
Yeah.
and why that movie resonates so much. They do a really good job of showing the confusion because they both loved, and he loved her. That's the intense thing is you do see, like, he really did love her, but he just was really unhealthy and abusive, and it doesn't matter. The love, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he
Yeah. It
loved her. He
doesn't.
hurt her.
Yeah. It's not. You know, no matter how much you love somebody, it doesn't matter if that's how you treat them. Even if it's just at times, his hand slipped. Once in 3 months. But if that's, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The love doesn't.
Yeah, love will never, like, yeah, my ex-husband would scream in my face, I love you. And I would just sit there and be like, why does this not make any sense to me? Like,
That's
how
yeah.
is that true? How is that true? But I do believe that he meant it and he really thought he did. The problem is he loved his power and
Yeah.
he loved his own self more.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like you see in the movie that he really was almost like obsessed with her and
Yeah.
she loved him back. And so that is what is like, it's when people start to be like, why didn't you leave? Or, like, because you love this person. And so there's a part of your heart that will always be trying to find that person that you fell in love with. And like, as they're fucking with your head, you're trying to think like, how could I make this work? Or maybe it is me. I mean, that's a natural human instinct to think maybe it's also me. It's very rare that a healthy person doesn't try to
Yeah.
see their own accountability in something.
Hmm.
Although the abuser almost never does.
I
They
know.
offload that responsibility onto the victim and other people and their childhood, and I saw that too. But like, I'm not that person, and so I naturally thought, okay, there is a chance that I'm perpetuating this or making it harder than it needs to be, and maybe I could, like, own my own part in alleviating the pressure of this. And do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, the movie does such a good job of showing the incredible dynamic between an abuser and a victim,
Yeah. And it
but in that
also
sort of society.
it also really did display accurately, because at the beginning he was very charming, and
Yeah.
it's interesting how narcissists, you know, when they're pursuing something, that's when they're at their most like lethal,
Yeah.
because that's when they're at their most like,
Charismatic and believable.
yeah. And I think about your ex and how he pursued you when we were young, and I remember those moments, and I remember all those charming moments, those things he
Yeah.
did at the beginning, and that's what
I
happens.
want to talk about it. Yeah, because I mean, there is also some crazy stuff that happened at the beginning that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah,
Um, but I was 17 years old,
yeah,
and I just didn't know. Um, but it was that there were these grand gestures and like
yeah.
massive declarations that felt like just wonderful, while simultaneously behind the scenes things going on that made me feel so confused. And so our relationship always had that element of duality of like, outwardly it looked perfect, inwardly it was really dark, the
But
entire time.
isn't it weird, Sophie? That's the dynamic we grew up with.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, kind of. Dad wasn't like
No, no, no. I mean, well, he was abusive, but
like the outward charm.
what I'm saying is outwardly our family, we never displayed, we never talked about, the trauma that was going on inside the home.
That's true. We learned how to not talk about the
So
truth.
in some ways that dynamic was perfectly normal.
That's what I always say is I didn't know a different dynamic. I
Yeah.
didn't have the clarity. I wasn't loved by my father in a way that would have told me a man should not treat a woman this way.
Yeah.
And I never saw a home life where you say, you don't act like that and we'll blow the cover off real quick.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me that it was like, that's what's crazy. It didn't ever occur to me, this is an abusive relationship or this is not a healthy dynamic. And I went
You went from one
from the frying
abusive,
pan into the fire. Yeah.
yeah, you went
I
from
just went.
the trauma of our home straight into the trauma of the next home.
And it kind of propelled me into it. Like I just wanted
Yeah.
out of that house,
I know.
and
And I wanted
I
out of
just
that.
wanted
I
to be
wanted out of
free.
that house too, man. That's why I left to Southern Oregon. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
you,
intense.
it is. It is.
The cycles of abuse.
I loved, man, that tender moment between, when she looks him in the eye too. I admired that moment of like courage when she just looks him in the eye. She realizes, she's like, I want a divorce, and she just knows,
Yeah,
she makes that decision right there. I'm gonna end this bullshit right now, and you understand,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
yeah, it makes and you see that courage, that fire, that resilience, and then when he leaves and she just looks at her little baby girl, and she's like, it ends with us. That actually was a very tender, it was a sweet moment, and I cried at that moment too.
So yeah, I mean I remember just weeping that whole
Yeah,
movie. Which if you know me, I don't cry about anything. Like I wish I did. So I was so surprised to be so affected. I mean, not surprised, but I didn't expect to
yeah,
be that affected. And then, yeah, when she says that to her daughter, I was a little late, but I do know that part of why I did what I did was my kids can't grow up like this.
yeah, yeah,
And I wish, I don't know. I don't know if I wish anything would have been different because, you live so much life in the time where things were happening that it's hard to wish you could have not experienced those things. I wouldn't be this person.
yeah. You are who, I mean,
But
and it can happen. It is what it is, right? You're here. The things have happened. You are who you are now, and
yeah,
you
and
still
it's a
make
powerful message.
you still made the right choice, and your kids still have. And the good thing about your kids is they're still young enough that this lesson will be imparted to them. They will understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gonna make a difference in their lives, you know.
Yeah, it's been cool watching them just be proud of me, because they're aware. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's an intense thing. Yeah, that's an intense movie. Everyone should watch it if they have a hard time understanding how these things happen. I mean, it's not like a great way to educate yourself into domestic violence, but if you want to like have your emotions affected in a way that really helps you understand the confusion and then the
I
power
know.
that comes from leaving, they
Because,
do a pretty good job.
there's always a narrative that it's usually created, well, it is, it's created by men normally. Like, well, why didn't you leave? Like you hated, this guy was such an asshole. Well, why didn't you leave? And this movie kind of breaks down, like this is what the dynamic that occurs and the confusion that occurs and the fact that you do love that person, but you're also because you love that person, you're making excuses for their behavior in it. And yeah, it's interesting. It breaks down that typical patriarchal narrative, that the woman, it's also her fault because she didn't leave.
You know how many times I've heard that? I think that is a question I get asked the most is why'd you stay so long? And it always is so painful because
Yeah,
there's no other way to interpret that except as, you're
you're
weak for
you're
staying.
or you're also just complicit.
Well, so like his dad said, well, you didn't seem to have a problem with it until this minute.
Jesus, I want to
Like,
slap these motherfuckers. God, I
yeah.
can't stand that family. Oh my God, Sophie, what the fuck? What
And I
an
had to remind
absolute.
him of all the years of me coming to him and telling him, like, I didn't have a problem with it. I came and told you about it multiple times. And even like at one point,
Oh
my ex-husband
God.
sent our intimate text messages to his dad to prove that sometimes I was sexual with him. Like, do you know how humiliating that is? And also like how abusive? Like, so
Jesus.
he only was being mean to me if I never liked it, if I never was happy, if I only ever hated him. That's impossible. Like, and this movie does do a good job of showing how you are so conflicted. Like, you love this person, you hate this part of them. You're also married and raising children, and so there are going to be times where, like, that's very normal. I remember feeling so defeated. Like, yeah, why did I ever flirt with my husband or send him wife messages? Like, why did I ever do that? Like,
Because
no, I don't have to defend that shit.
no, you
Like,
don't. You
because I was
don't.
married to him,
Yeah.
because I was committed to him until I
And
wasn't.
and you had a whole culture of people telling you that that's what you were supposed to do.
Dude,
Everyone around you was reaffirming the worst aspects of that relationship. What do you? Yeah, you don't have to. Fuck that. Don't feel bad about that shit. Don't defend it. Don't defend it. You know
yeah,
that's so.
yeah,
Talk
it's
about
also
gas.
part of the cycle of abuse. Yeah,
Yeah.
gaslighting.
Not just by
Like,
not just by your ex, but by the community and by the pastor of the fucking, his dad. Jesus.
yeah. Yeah, it was really intense. I mean, he even sent a whole message to her mom about, there were times when Sophie was really sexual with me. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Because he's a
We were,
narcissist and he's trying to
but
stay.
also the way that every person who got those messages, I mean, that they at first were convinced and kind of like, well, why did you? Like,
Fuck him.
what do you mean, why did I? Like, that should not, like, what an easy offload. Like, you are making yourself feel better because you don't have to take this so seriously if you can find any way to emotionally relieve yourself of the horror of what was done to me. um it wouldn't, like, I don't know, that's a whole thing on just the way we automatically look for a way to not feel so responsible when we find out about stuff like this. Like, we cannot, as a society, I've done it myself. Like, if you hear something bad about her, you're like, okay, so maybe it wasn't that bad because it's relieving. um, but like, every domestic violence counselor will tell you, while you're being abused, you are also the worst version of yourself because
Yeah.
you are being abused. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's impossible to say that there is not bad
Yeah.
behavior on both sides.
Yeah.
That's like such an unfair thing to use.
I know. And Sophie, this is why, this conversation helped me understand your anger towards our family, the rest of our family members, and how
Yeah.
they and how they and how they interact with your ex and their choice to continue interacting with him and his family. It's helping me understand your anger towards that. And you're right. It's disturbing that they continue to associate themselves with that family because
Yeah.
what they did was so reprehensible. It should be obvious that,
It
like
should be obvious.
you like draw a line, motherfucker. Like just walk away. It's not
Yeah.
like who you're gonna choose that family over your own sister, your own daughter. You're gonna really? That's
Yeah.
that's infuriating. That's infuriating.
It's so painful. Yeah, I think that's like we're talking about someone who assaulted me multiple
Yeah,
times and
yeah.
whose family helped protect him, made
Mhm.
excuses for them, went around and said horrible things about me. And you, because you attend that church, you're having a hard time figuring out which side to be on. Like,
Yeah,
what am I supposed to do with that except realize you chose a side that wasn't mine and cut my losses and move on? I mean, what can I do besides that? Like,
yeah,
I cannot abuse myself by making excuses for them. I've participated in that logic most of my
yeah,
life. I'm not doing
yeah,
it anymore. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's bad behavior. And I don't have to put up with it, and I'm not going to. And I don't have to make excuses for it. I don't need to try and understand why it's hard for them. I don't give a shit. You know what was hard for me? Living in that marriage for all of that time. And now that you know the truth, even with all of its complexities, I'm your kid. I'm your sister. There should be no dilemma in your mind, but
yeah,
there is. And so that's fine. Like I'm not going to beg anyone to
yeah.
choose me or love me or see me,
And
you
you're
know?
not, yeah. And I'm happy that I know it's a hard decision. I know it causes you pain, but I'm also respect you for, you respect yourself now, and you're not gonna let any,
I do.
you're not gonna play, you're not gonna ask, you're not gonna ask yourself, is it me anymore,
No.
And that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. You have respect for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what healthy is, and you know what unhealthy is as well. And
Yeah. And
you
I
can,
know how I love people and I know, yeah, it's just a wild thing. But also another movie we were talking about is Pretty Little Things.
poor things.
Poor Things. Why did I say Pretty Little Things?
I don't know. There's a
That was
there's
weird.
a there's a movie or a show called Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I love that show. I watched it when it came.
you did.
uh, I did watch. I mean, it's
Oh,
old,
so
but
so you so you I think you can flip the two.
I can play
Um,
it.
completely. But yeah, Poor Things with Emma Stone. Oh my God,
And Mark
dude.
Ruffalo, they did so
And
good.
Mark Ruffalo's character is so funny. Oh my
Dude, so unexpected. I've never seen him act like that.
when he's
Brilliant.
it was such a honestly it was such a great acting by both of those actors, Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo. They're like just the way they interact with each other, their chemistry, and then their lack of chemistry. um
It was so bizarre.
it was just and it was brilliant. And I also just love the brilliance of like, just kind of challenging patriarchal just attitudes towards women and sex, and
Yeah.
what happens when a woman's no longer your plaything, and she has a mind of her own, and then all of a sudden Mark Ruffalo, that's when he falls in love with her. He's like, I can't live with that.
And she's off being a prostitute.
He's like,
It
this
was
woman
so
is
wild.
mad.
Yeah, he turned into like a little boy, like petulant, and she's
Well,
like out of her fucking mind. I mean, if you don't know the movie, it's like a spin-off on Frankenstein.
yeah. So
But
yeah,
yeah.
it takes place in the Victorian era. It's got kind of like steampunk elements to it.
Hmm.
It's humans. It's human centric. It takes place on a world similar to our own, but it's very Victorian, and it's got a lot of steampunk. Balloons that float. That people ride in, and
Yeah.
but it's also an incredible commentary on women, their power or lack of power over their sexuality. It also just talks about class divides and just yeah, it's
And
powerful.
even like the infantil what do you call
Infantilization,
that?
infantilization.
Yeah, the way men love girls to be women to act very girlish.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they did such a good job of showing how
yeah.
creepy that is because she is essentially a
She's
toddler in a woman's body.
so we might as well explain it. So what it is,
Yeah.
and the other fascinating actor in this is Willem Dafoe, who
Hmm.
plays. I mean, he plays such a perfect like Dr. Frankenstein,
Yeah.
because his face is, he's already got like a naturally
On
distorted,
face.
odd face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he plays this character who's essentially a Dr. Frankenstein. And he creates all these weird, experiments. He's got like what is he got like a goat with wings, and he's got like a pig that he creates, monstrosities. But
Yeah.
he ends up reviving a dead girl that he found in the river.
Who's pregnant?
Who's
Who's pregnant?
yes. What happened with that?
Yeah.
He
That's so
the
she took
baby.
the baby's brain and put it
he
in
took
her
the he took the baby's brain, put it in the dead woman, and revives her. So she's essentially a child, but in the
in a
body
fully
of
grown
in
body.
the body of a full grown woman. And you see her navigating like the beginning's just so bizarre, but it's well done. That's what I want to say. Because even though
Yeah.
she's like naked at times and she's
Yeah.
acting like a child, it's well done. It's not tasteless.
And
It's
it's
it's very
intention. I mean, sometimes it's
yeah.
bizarre as fuck. Like she masturbates with a candle. I was like, how are you doing that? They do a really good job of showing because she's being treated like an adult because she's in an
Yeah,
adult body,
yeah,
but she's
yeah,
an actual baby, and
yeah.
so like you could tell at first they are very like unsure of how to handle this woman baby, and then
And
she gets to about,
at first she's just acting like a baby and a kid, and she's throwing tantrums. But then
yeah,
she discovers her sexuality, and
yeah,
that
she's like
is
12 years old.
it's a whole bizarre
And
fucking
so as soon as she's like mentally 12, the men want to fuck her, which is like so bizarre. Um, yeah, but then it's like weirdly poetic, like
it
when they're on
is.
the ship and she sees the poor people, the lower caste, and she's like
Yeah,
very affected.
yeah,
And then she goes and joins them and becomes an actual, prostitute, but like regains her own like
yeah.
sexual, agency and the way this Mark Ruffalo
Mark
guy, he at
Ruffalo.
first comes in almost like he's rescuing her, like he
Yeah,
sees her as this brilliant like rare muse and he wants to get her out of
and
this like castle.
there's also the fact that she fucks him constantly. I mean, shit.
God, what do they call it, the something jumping, the remember she like
Yeah,
says, can we do the
and she doesn't even
crazy
call
jumping,
she doesn't even call it sex. She calls it
does she call it like crazy jumping or the
something. Yeah, she has
it's
like
jumping though because I remember being like what.
she has a very childlike name for what sex is. Um,
Yeah, because he doesn't explain it to her, so she
and
just
he's when he's just enamored by this little nymph that just wants to do whatever he wants.
and she's so wild and untamed,
Yeah,
and it like
yeah,
shows how men love wild women until they want to own them, and then they want to like he wants to break her spirit essentially,
yeah, yeah,
and he's so offended that she won't submit to him.
yeah.
Uh, they do a good job of showing him just how childish that is. Like he just turns into a little boy
Yeah,
when
if
he's
I
sitting
if
on
I
the
be
bed waiting for her. He's just like,
and I love the transition between, initially he's really chill with how everything is because
yeah,
she's essentially doing everything that he wants already. So
yeah.
he's
She's like
not
fulfilling his fantasy.
so he has no qualms. But as soon as she develops like her own sense of self and
Yeah,
ownership, she develops ownership over her
yeah,
body.
yeah.
All of a sudden, well, first he gets really mad, but then he slowly devolves into just the most childish, like, boy of all time. I love that little
Like
temper tantrum he throws in the little cell where he's just, he's just screaming, she's ruining me! That fucking woman!
that woman. And meanwhile, she's just like,
Yeah,
so she never really feels compassion for him, which is, I love that she's always
yeah,
just kind of like, what is your problem?
yeah.
And, oh, I love that. I love that movie.
I
But
know.
I remember watching it and thinking this would be so funny to watch in the same room with like our parents. Like it would be so fun.
Imagine Andrea, imagine our sisters.
No,
They would be so offended.
no, they would be dying laughing. They would love it, but they'd be like not
but
wanting us to know that they think it's so funny
I
because
bet
they would be laughing.
they would watch it in private and probably think it's humorous, but they would never. But they don't agree with any of the politics. I mean, they would.
No,
Yeah.
but it would be so funny to watch it with them. One time, I'm trying to remember, what did I do? That reminds me of one time I wanted Kevin and Janet to open their minds a little bit to like just the world, and I sent them a podcast episode from Esther Perel of this couple who are like having an open marriage. And Kevin was like, that was very interesting. Like, why did I do that? It's like the same feeling that I want to watch this with our parents. Like, oh, it's so deliciously awkward. Like,
You
it's
love,
just
yeah,
so
you just
funny. Yeah.
you love it.
Like, that
Uh,
really rattled your little cage, didn't it? You got
I
turned on and
think
hated yourself for it.
that's why I think that aspect right there is why I love media, because
Yeah.
one thing about a well told fictional story really has the ability to challenge people on a level that direct communication can't. Because
Yeah.
what it does is it tricks them. Because it's such a good story, they get drawn into it. So, if you tell someone like, no, I don't like that. This is why. They can in the moment rationally navigate that and say, no, 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 no. But you tell a good
Yeah.
story and it hijacks their ability to say no. And they're infatuated by the story. So like, I love that stories can do that,
Yes.
They,
Hmm.
they can force people to think about life in a way that they would never have even considered, mainly because it tricks them. you
That's
know?
I had never thought of it that way. I'm pretty or odd things. What is it? Pretty odd
poor,
things?
poor things.
Poor things. Wow. Anyways, that's exactly what it does. You're watching it the whole time and you're like, what is going on? And you have this perceived judgment, and then by the end of it you're like, no, wait, she just wanted to be free and he was a pervert. Yeah, it bypasses your own thinking and it
yeah,
forces you to like
yeah.
re-examine something.
I think that has always
Yes.
been what I love about stories, man. They always, I love that aspect of art, and especially
Yeah.
movies, books, and music. Like they can tell stories in ways that can teach people who are resistant to teaching.
Yeah, it's true. It's like why poetry and writing and stuff are
yeah,
so effective. I read this interesting quote from this film critic who said, if you have two people who are romantically involved, if they don't like the same movies, they always end in divorce. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, I wanted to know what you thought about that because it is really fascinating to me when I meet someone whose favorite like movies or media is something I'm not even remotely interested in. I do find that we have very little in common. Like, and I can't figure that dynamic out.
that's an interesting quote. I really have to think about that because they say opposites attract, and sometimes it's nice to have someone who thinks differently than you. But there is something about movies and stories.
Yeah,
It's
the way they
nice.
want to hear stories.
Yeah. My ex Jay and I, man, our love of media, we had very similar interests, and I adore that about her. Even though we're not together anymore, like we watch the same movies, man, some of our best moments were just laying in bed watching like South Park or like watching Game of Thrones, and and we would comment on it. We would talk about the show as we were watching it, and like that was beautiful. Actually, I miss that.
Yeah, I've never experienced that. I mean, I find it really fascinating because actually, so my ex-husband and I, we really did like the same genre of movies. And so it made watching movies and like taking in media with him really mentally stimulating because he found it interesting, I found it interesting, but we never, not for the same reason usually. And so, but when there's like someone that I like very recently really likes kind of like the more dude humor, like Step Brothers and stuff, which is
Yeah,
something I'm not remotely interested in.
yeah.
Um, that's like a weird thing about me. I have a really hard time with humor at all. Like, I don't know that I've ever watched a comedy and liked it. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I love Jim Carrey. Um,
uh,
but for the most part, humor is really hard on me. I don't know what
yeah,
it. Part of it is humor. I think was used in the church by our father and my ex husband to actually be really mean, and so I think I have
yeah,
a hard time with it.
yeah.
Because you remember that, like even in the church. I mean, our dad obviously, but like there was always this like sharpness to the jokes. They were always demeaning, and you never like really felt like
Dude,
laughing.
oh my God! Thank you for saying that. That
Yeah,
made me feel crazy. So like with all the
same.
guys, right? All the guys.
It was like a part of the culture. Like To just
I
also,
have felt for so long like maybe I was crazy, like maybe I was too sensitive. Because I've thought about
mm,
this a lot. I remember the way people used to joke with each other, and there was always like a cutting edge to them. And I
totally,
and like it was this. Now that I look at it, it's disturbing. Like people were just straight up tearing each other
very.
down, and like I've thought about it like at times in the past, like, am I just too sensitive? Like
Mm-mm.
these people are. I mean, this doesn't because I don't even joke with anyone like that anymore. I mean, but we do. But like when I do it, it's with people who, like we understand the joke and we're both in on it. With the church, man, there was it's hard to describe, but it was a
It is hard to describe.
fucked up dynamic, man. They told jokes that were
It,
just. It wasn't even a joke. I
cool.
mean, it was like they were. I don't know what the fuck that was. That is seriously a
It's like,
fucked up.
mhm. Yeah, I've thought about it a lot because I have a really hard time with that kind of humor, and I don't usually participate in it anymore. I mean, I will like tease someone, but like I don't ever come for how they look or what their body looks like or anything that
Yeah.
they're proud of. Because that was part of it. I feel like it was this constant. Well, it was the church is deeply competitive.
Yeah.
No one is happy for you for being successful, and anytime someone thought that someone might feel good about something, it's like they took it on themselves to deflate your ego. And
Yes.
it was just like, I mean, you would do something and be like so proud of it, but you'd have to like kind of brace yourself for the mocking. And I fucking hate that kind of humor because it is always at someone else's expense. It's like, and that's what I hate. So I've like told people that I'm dating, like, I don't like that kind of humor. Like, don't make a joke about my body. Don't make a joke about anything. That's mean humor. That is low hanging fruit. And there's something, it's like you are insecure somewhere because why do you
Oh
have to like
my.
hurt
I,
someone else? You
I'm
know?
not. I'm not crazy. Okay, dude. So no, seriously, Sophie, this is helping me because I thought maybe I was just so like not too long ago. I was telling mom and dad and I was telling them, like I had anemia, right? I was like, I'm anemic, and dad was like, our mom said like one of them was like, well, women are anemic. Like, like they made it was a weird underhanded joke about me basically being a woman. And they both laughed at it. And I just remember, and, usually I would laugh and just be like, oh, whatever. But I just sat
Hmm.
there and I looked at him and I didn't say anything. And something clicked in my head and I was like, that's
Not
like,
funny.
that's not funny. Like, what, you're like tearing me, you're like purposely like, and and that kind of like weird, like underhanded joke was really a part of their culture. And like
Yeah,
I've noticed even our own parents do it. And it's
yeah.
like, dude, like I still think I
Snark is a part of the entire culture.
I still think about that moment with mom and dad because it was really like weird. And I just remember feeling like offended and I was like, why am I offended? Like
Right.
they're just making a joke. But like the way it wasn't like if a dude here said that, like I would probably laugh with them and we'd have a whole laugh about being women and having vaginas and shit. Because the way we joke here, it's like we respect each other, right? And
Yeah.
we know that the other person is just joking. But like in that moment there was just it's the tone, it's the way they say it. You can tell that it's meant to kind of like just tear you down a little. Just bring you down a
That's
notch.
yeah, yeah. That's like part of it is like I don't actually know if these people really like me, and so I can't like our relationship isn't safe enough for that to land well. But also, why is it constant? And I had to really fight it. By the time we came here, and I was still in the church, I remember talking about this with John. Like we couldn't stand it. The snark in the church, like the way everyone mocks everyone constantly, and you're kind of like mocked. If you can't handle it, then you're a pussy and you're probably a liberal. And just like realizing, no, let people. It is actually an insecurity because it takes a lot
Yeah.
of like personal, like I don't know, like I've learned when someone tells me something to not reflexively mock them or make a joke because it's uncomfortable to just be like, oh, okay, let me just experience this moment really authentically because that's part of it is they're not experiencing it. Like
Yeah.
our parents, like when I just remember, like there were times where I'd get like dressed up or try and look nice, and they were like uncomfortable. Neither one of them have ever been like, "You look beautiful today." Never, and because that's uncomfortable. There's something vulnerable about kindness that is like very uncomfortable in the church and our family, and so instead they'd be like, "Oh, someone's trying to look nice for a boy," and I would feel so stupid, like I'd have to brace myself, like I guess I'll take that as the compliment. that you made fun of me. But like, it's so much more. It takes more. I guess like you're more grounded if you can just like say the nice thing to someone and connect with them in a meaningful way and risk them maybe being uncomfortable with your praise. I feel like that's what it's like protective, but it's so painful to be the recipient of because you just want some
Yeah,
affirmation and then you feel like an absolute idiot for like being made fun of and you feel like, oh, I guess I can't take a joke. But like everything
yeah.
is a joke. Everything I tell you is a fucking joke. Like even with like our parents, you saying that. Like the problem is you're telling them something that's having a tremendous impact on you. And there's like a weird dynamic in our relationships right now. And so to like have this like passive aggressive dig at you feels like, wait, are you like this isn't even about what you just said because you just like it's a deeper conversation that's happening under the surface that you are continuing in this passive aggressive way. And
Dude, that is
yeah.
just thank you for validating that experience for me, man. Because I for all this time, I've seriously it's made me question my reality. Like, 'cause I remember back then, when I was 20, when I first come back from Southern Oregon, like I would get really hurt by those underhanded kind of jokes and jabs.
Yeah.
And I remember it's bothered me for so long just because I can't,
Mm,
like I have to always like ask myself, am I being too sensitive? Am I just being it? But
yeah.
I remember being really hurt, Sophie. Like it was like
Yeah.
those guys were brutal. And it really is for people who don't know like the culture. It's a different kind of tearing down because guys in here we tear each other down constantly. But like in a it's in a way though where everyone respects each other and we're not like it's normal, like, because guys do it a lot where we tear each other down, but we're,
Yeah.
we're really just messing around. And I'm okay with that. Like, I can handle that and do that all day. But there was something about the way the Potter's House culture tore each other down in little jabs and jokes that was honestly just insidious and weird. And like,
I think we should give some examples. Like I can remember like Wayman Mitchell, the leader of the thing, would often I can remember multiple times where he needed water and he like I remember he looked out at the crowd at this one Pastor Luna, who's very overweight, and said, "Hey, fat boy, bring me some water." And we all laughed. And Pastor Luna just kind of sheepishly walked up there, and Pastor Mitchell was like, "Maybe go run around the church a few times before you sit down." And we all laughed. Like this is what I'm talking. That was in the culture of the church. And then,
yeah, yeah,
I remember Pastor Mammon one time. This is when we were in our teens. Joff, our brother-in-law, he played in a band with John, and we were standing in the Mac stage, so the concert venue. He had a hoodie on. He was just standing there talking to the guys. Pastor Mammon walks by him and pushes the hoodie off and says, "You look stupid. Take that off." Like, what the fuck, man? And we
yeah,
all and you're not allowed to have a problem with it because then it shows that you have a problem with authority
yeah,
and that you're too sensitive. And so
yeah,
everyone had to just kind of be like, "Oh, okay, we'll take the hood off." Like he banned like he they would it's that kind of humor where anyone who
yeah,
if someone's voice cracked, everyone would kind of laugh at them and start making jokes. And so you just always had to have tough skin because it
yeah,
was like everything I do, I'm kind of stupid. Like you just always wondered who actually likes me. Like everyone kind of
yeah.
thinks I'm stupid.
It was,
Um,
yeah, man.
it's brutal humor. It's not just like teasing. There's like a really
Yeah.
cruel undertone.
Yeah, there is. It's meant to reinforce like authority, honestly.
That is it. Yeah,
Yeah,
to keep you submissive. Because if you get offended,
yeah.
then you're being, overly sensitive and you can't take authority. And so it's constantly like
You
breaking
got,
down your own.
yeah, and it's breaking down your identity, isn't it? Because like
Yeah.
if you rebel against that, now you have the spirit of rebelliousness, and like
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
like man, isn't that weird? That's some cult shit right there, man.
It's really crazy how it works so well too because it
Yeah.
keeps you
And
feel like
everybody does
a
it.
loser.
It starts at the top and it just rolls all the way down to there's always somebody to tear down.
Yeah, and you're like free to mock like you don't and it was always told to us like, well, we don't, God gets all the glory around here. Like and so they were always it's this effort to keep your ego in check. But like it was so bizarre because we all did it. I remember
I know.
anytime someone tried something new, we'd just laugh at them constantly.
We would make fun of everybody. And
I remember mhm.
especially people outside of the church, man. I mean,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
you could always tear down and like they were free game.
Dude, I remember Pastor Mitchell again getting up and when Adele first came out and he was like, you know why that woman's always singing about men who don't want her is because she's fat. And I remember, like, he hated fat people. That's notorious. Everyone knew Wayman Mitchell hated fat people. But he would say shit like that. I remember Pastor Hills, our first pastor. Like, I remember I was 9 years old, which means Neil Beaudry would have been 9 years old. And do you remember this? Pastor Hills would tell all the boys that they wear Little Mermaid panties. He would say, "Are you wearing your Little Mermaid panties?" Until they'd cry. And then they would make fun of them for crying. Like, what is that? Why were we allowing this grown man to do this to young 9 years old? That's a crazy thing to do. And we all were just like, oh, toughen up. Like, no, what you did is you created people with no heart, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember it vividly because I remember being thinking for a long time that Neil Beaudry wore Little Mermaid pants.
Oh,
Because Pastor Hills would always make that joke to him. And like realizing now, like, oh my gosh, we were so young. That's fourth and fifth grade. Why is a grown man making a joke like that? And why are we all laughing? It was just part of the culture. And then people say stuff like, well, that's just how it was back then. Like, well, it was wrong and it was weird
it's weird.
and very inappropriate.
And now that I think about it, man, talk about just it really is just power. It's a way to keep and people do it themselves. They are literally
Yeah.
keeping themselves in check.
Yeah.
You don't even have to exert. Like it doesn't require any. Like it's like everybody's spying on each other. Everyone's always. God, it's such a
Oh,
call.
my friend Danae
It's
talks about that. Like,
such a
tattletale
call.
culture is huge. Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they really
We
are a
all tell
fucking
on each other
cult.
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? God, I
Hmm.
hate that organization.
It's
The Potter's House.
same.
It's called
The
the
Potter's
Potter's
House.
House. It's based out of Prescott, Arizona. They got thousands of churches around the world. Most people don't
They
know
go by
about them.
Victory Chapel or the
Most
Door.
most people don't know about them, but they are a straight up cult, man. They are vicious and just yeah,
Yeah, if you Google it, make sure you don't find T.D. Jakes because he's a
yeah.
a
I
Black
know.
Baptist preacher.
Yeah, I don't know
People are
any.
always like,
I know they always TD Jakes. I'm like no.
no,
I don't know anything
let's leave
about
that poor
TD.
man out.
I don't know anything about TD Jakes, but I don't think he's a cult pastor. I don't. I don't.
He's a Baptist preacher. He's
Yeah.
like very like
I,
Southern Baptist, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
No, Wayman Mitchell, Prescott,
Well,
Arizona.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Well, dang, this has been a good episode
Yeah.
because I love how it just like meanders all over the place.
this
Which,
it's already been an hour and a half. Holy shit, dude!
yeah,
Wow. I
I
can't.
like it. I like this way of having like a
Nah.
certain like direction, and then we just kind of like
We
go
just
everywhere.
yeah. I like it too. It's fun. It really is.
Hmm.
Hey, what's the what's the difference between a joke and three nails? Jesus can't take a joke.
Blasphemy on Jesus Christ! Oh no!
Speaking of people who are too sensitive.
Yeah, yeah, that offended you. Grow a pair. Oh God. Oh wow. Yeah, that's gonna offend some people. That's it. Um,
I don't really care, man. I know it's a weird dynamic. I'm sure people probably look at me and us and just wonder, well, maybe not you so much. I don't know. I don't know what your beliefs are, but I call myself a Christian, but I I have no problem saying stuff like that because you know what? The God I worship cares more about my heart, my intent, and how I treat people than silly, stupid jokes. And honestly, yeah, I don't have a problem with saying that I'm a Christian, but I can also tell jokes at Jesus' expense. It doesn't bother me for some reason. I don't think it should.
I don't think it should. I think sacrilege is necessary. It keeps. We can make things so precious that don't need to be, and
Well, then
I just.
also just look at the people
Mhm,
who call themselves like the perfect Christians. They are the
yeah.
most vicious, right? We grew up
Mhm.
with the so-called perfect Christians, who probably think what we do right now is absolute heresy and just we're going to hell. We're going to burn, according to them. And
Yeah.
and they were the
Let's
perfect.
go.
But
Hmm.
now I look at them and they are just some of the most like the vicious, worst human beings I've
Yeah.
ever met. So you know what? Fuck you. I know what my God is, man, and my God can take a joke. My God can take a joke. You know what he can't take? A bunch of vicious fucking snakes who call themselves Christian. I'd rather be this version of a Christian than that. I'll tell you that
God giggles when I make fun of it. I can hear
much.
it.
I'm serious, man. Fuck that. Fuck that self-righteous bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know what I would call myself, but I do
Yeah.
think that, first of all, I like offending people. I think it's like an important thing
I know.
because a lot,
I know. Me too.
a lot of the things,
Like, fuck your
yeah, because it's
sensibilities.
truly like, oh, you think that that's not polite, but like the things that it just,
But then you'll,
it's
yeah,
self-righteousness. Like
yeah, yeah.
people who are self-righteous deserve to be offended,
Yeah,
and
I know.
I have a shirt. Oh my gosh, my poor kids. Reagan did the laundry the other day. I'm sure she folded it and was like, "Mom, it's Jesus. It's the Catholic Jesus on the cross, and it says Jesus loves you, but I don't. Go fuck yourself." I just think that, like, so as soon as the church started calling me Jezebel, I ordered a T-shirt with
Yeah.
Jezebel embroidered on the front. I wear it everywhere. Like fuck you and your self-righteous attitude.
Yeah,
I think it's so funny to offend people, but like I do need to rein it in sometimes because not everyone deserves to be offended,
yeah, yeah.
but those ideologies, they deserve to be confronted in a way that makes them so, like, it's so funny to think of some very polite Christian woman with all of her hatred towards other women reading my shirt and being like, oh my God, like, oh, that is peak humor for me. Like,
I
I
know.
just offended your crazy idea of what is good and
Mama,
righteous, and I love that.
my jokes about Jesus are meant specifically. They are directed specifically at all those self-righteous Christians who can't take a fucking joke. You know, who think they're above that shit and they could never. But meanwhile, they'll vote for Trump, but they'll also make sure their daughter gets an abortion because she had sex with the wrong guy.
Right.
You fucking
Yeah.
hypocritical, self-righteous cocks. Like I will say I want to offend you. I do, because fuck you, man.
Welcome to the cult, you guys. That is part of the bylaws. Fuck the Christians. I mean, not literally. Don't do that.
Don't do that. If you do, be prepared for an abortion. Um, isn't that funny,
No,
man? No,
yeah.
no. Those, what's funny is like they're so against abortion, but like in all seriousness, like if their daughter gets impregnated by like the wrong, someone who doesn't share, is too poor, is black,
Yeah.
is not a Christian, they'll all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe we should take her to the abortion clinic, like all of a sudden it becomes an option. Like you fucking assholes, fuck you.
The double standard. I think that's why the humor is so funny because it's
Yeah,
like, come on, let's not pretend you are righteous or holy. Like
yeah,
it's just so funny to offend people like that, and
yeah.
it's probably a little bit immature, but I get so much joy from it. um,
Me
like
too.
I have another T-shirt that says "Vasectomies prevent abortions." I think it's so funny to wear that in public because people see it. It's like this pretty like sunset, and they're like, "Oh," and then I see them, and they're like, "Oh God."
It's
It's so
true.
funny.
I mean, it's true. It does. You want to prevent abortions? Snip those testes, bro.
Yeah, let's do both things. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it just makes
yeah.
me laugh, but obviously there's an immature aspect to it, but I'll
Yeah,
still do it for.
it's a little juvenile, but you know what, man?
We got to get our kicks where we can.
Yeah,
We were
sometimes
traumatized. We can't help
it's not
it.
my fault. All right, I was
Still my
raised.
fault. I have an underdeveloped sense of humor these days, Carlos, because I'm a fucking idiot. I can't help it.
Well, this has been wonderful, Sophie. I love you.
Yeah, I love
Thank,
you too.
thank you for a wonderful. This was a really good one. I like this one. This was fun.
I know. I like the flow of
Yeah,
the conversation.
yeah,
It got really serious, really silly. I mean,
yeah,
all the things that a good podcast should be.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to you next week, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
You too. I love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Get in line and settle down. Get.
The number you dialed is not a working number. Please check the number and dial again.
Goodbye.